G'day, welcome back to the channel. Hey, between you and me, home brewing's a great hobby if you enjoy cleaning and doing the dishes. Hey, most of us don't, me included. So anything that gives me my time back and keeps things sanitary, well, I'm all in. Today, I'm reviewing the Corny cleaner and Fermenter cleaning kit from Kegs. I've had this thing for over 2 years now, and I've used it a lot. I'm talking 1 to 2 times every week. Now, this isn't a shiny unboxing video or paid promo. This is the real deal, and you're gonna get my honest opinions. So it's a solid bit of kit right out of the box, or should I say, out of the bucket. Because it comes with a 16.5 litre bucket. Now mine's looking a little bit worse for wear. You can see some rust spots and stuff starting, but you know, they're a pretty good quality bucket. We'll just slide over a bit, and I'll show you a look at the rest of the stuff. So it comes with a 70 watt submersible pump. That's mine there. And you can see that's been pretty well used. It comes with 2 cleaning arms. Now mine came with a stainless steel telescopic arm, and the plastic arm that it came with sort of disintegrated, much the same way that my plastic fell apart from the bucket blaster that I bought from Kegland. It also comes with a number of adapters, and really the only one you're interested in is the 1/2 inch one. And that just threads into there like that. And it comes with a small stainless steel T-piece, a length of tubing, which I've just cut into 3 roughly even lengths, and we'll talk about the tubing a bit later on. It comes with a stainless steel T-piece, a smaller stainless steel barb fitting, a larger stainless steel barb fitting, 2 ball lock disconnects. Now mine came with a 1/2 inch spray ball. More on that later. It also came with a pretty rigid keg stand itself. Now that's pretty solid. So the bucket also doubles as a handy storage bin, but spoiler alert, mine's pretty well used and the lid cracked. Let's have a look at this thing in action. Before we do that, and we're putting things together though, what I will remind you of is when you're threading stainless steel to stainless steel, use a bit of Tef tape. Not that you want it to seal. What you want to do is avoid those stainless steel parts galling, because once those threads are galled, they basically cold weld the fittings together, and good luck getting that apart. So you can see there, all I've done is just wrap that with a couple of layers of Teflon tape so that when we put this thing together, it'll come apart for us. First thing we're going to do is screw this into the base. Now that only just needs to be hand tight. And then we put our T-piece on. And again, no need to be an animal on it. You just want it so it's pointing off to one side. And it only needs to be hand tight. Remember, you're threading stainless steel onto plastic. All right, from there, our wash arm, the telescoping arm feeds on, and this just needs, again, to be hand tight. Into here on the T-piece, we're just going to put our smaller barb fitting. And there's no real need to do it any more than about hand tight or just over hand tight. If it makes you feel a little bit better, you can just come in with a shifting spanner and just give that 1/4 of a turn, but it's really not going anywhere. From there, we'll just feed on one of our lengths of silicone hose. Now, the hose that came with this was just far too stiff, and it was literally like trying to fight with a garden hose to keep that in the bucket. So I've gone with a softer silicone hose. Now, the disadvantage of the silicone hose is that it's, if you look at it the wrong way, it'll kink and bend. So I went to go with nylon, but it doesn't hold up too well with the chemicals we use for cleaning. From there, we put our T-piece on and our 2 ball lock disconnects, and on top here sits our spray ball. Again, just needs to be hand tight, no need to be like an animal on it. Remember, you want to get this thing apart when you're done. All right, let's have a look at this thing in action. So that's how it looks there when it's all put together in the bucket. Now, things with mine is that the suction cups on the bottom of my pump have lost their sticky, but that's okay. It doesn't really affect it too negatively. It doesn't seem to get up and float around. It's got enough weight in that pump to hold it there when you fill it full of water. So what I like to do is run a PBW followed by a rinse, followed by a sanitise. Now, if you're going to run a sanitiser through, don't pick something that foams like Starsan. It'll just end up in a scene straight out of Ghostbusters with the Marshmallow Man. You'll end up with foam everywhere, and that will draw angst from your significant other. Now, all I do is heat the water up to about 45 degrees and fill up my 5 litre jug. And I add my PBW to the 5 litre jug and make sure I dissolve it in the jug first, so you don't end up with undissolved PBW in the bottom of your bucket. The rate we're using today is just 1 teaspoon per litre, and all I do is just top that up full of water. And I find that 6 litres is generally enough to cover that pump. Let's get our fermenter on there. So our first fermenter we're going to clean today is our all-rounder, and you can see that's pretty gross. So what we'll do, what I'd normally do is just give that a rinse out, but for the sake of this, we're just going to stick that straight on the way it is. Before we do that though, we're going to hook up our liquid posts and our gas posts. Now, with these carb caps, it doesn't really matter which one you put it on, because they fit on either. All you got to worry about is pinching that hose. So I just manoeuvre that in, and we'll stick that in there just like that, and come in and put our fermenter on top. From there, it's a matter of just turning on the pump, we just let the pump and those chemicals do the work for us without all the harsh rubbing and scrubbing. I'll drop you down so you can have a bit of a closer look. And you know what the best bit about these are? You can use a beer as a timer. So you know what that means? Cue the slow-mo and the bad 80s porn music. Let's go get a beer.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So while that's doing its thing, the beer that we're going to enjoy is a Kilkenny clone that I brewed. Now that's an extract brew, but it's a deep burgundy colour. And it's brewed with East Kent Goldings. And I tell you what, it's Fantastic. Hey, just while we're having a beer, just wanted to say a massive thanks to all of you that are subscribed and commented on the videos. It means the world to me because it really helps the channel grow. Anyway, I'll end up finishing this off and we'll have a look at the fermenter and see how that's gone. I'll catch us in a minute.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Well, that's the point there. You can see leaves plenty of lacing behind thanks to the nitro. Let's have a look and see how we've gone. Righto, let's just turn this pump off before we lift this thing up and have a look. You can see there, that's pretty good. There's no rousing ring. So we'll empty this bucket out, give it a rinse, and then hit it with some sanitiser. And we're just going to hook up our lid. Okay. And position that down in the base there, making sure that those hoses aren't kinked. Put our fermenter back on and turn the pump on. Now, if you're going to use our beer timer for your rinse cycle, you probably only want half a pint this time. But then again, no one says you can't have a whole pint. You just got to drink it quick. Now, whatever you do, don't run this in your house or anywhere near carpet. Don't even think the word carpet. Don't walk away from it. I've had one of these manage to lift itself off when I've been using this fitting here. Managed to lift itself off and I ended up with water everywhere and it drew angst from you know who. Now to sanitise, I use Atomic 15. I think it's a great product, it doesn't foam up. And into that 6 litres of water, we're going to add 15 mils. And I'll just measure it out in the measuring cup there. Make sure we get it all. We'll pop our fermenter back on and turn the pump back on. Now that Atomic 15, it's only got a 30-second contact time, so it almost finishes before it starts, but I'll let it run for a couple of minutes. So that's us, all clean, all sanitised. That all-rounder's now ready to go for another brew. And all we did was drink a beer. Now, if you've got one of the bigger all-rounders, here's where the genius of this telescope comes in. All you simply do is telescope it up, stick your 60-litre fermenter over the top. Same deal, just turn on the pump. And you can see there, that's got no worries about reaching the bottom of the 60-litre fermenter. Now that's great, I hear you say. Well done, Harry. But how does it go with kegs? Well, let's find out. Look at a dirty keg. First thing I'll do is depressurise it. And while that lid's on, we'll get rid of that PRV and just drop that straight in there. Get rid of our lid. So I stripped them apart, just dump them in the bucket. And then repeat that exact same process, but with a keg. All we're going to do is, you know the drill by now, black on your out, grey on the gas, tip him up, sit it over the top. Now, with these silicone hoses, you just want to watch that you don't pinch anything off. and just hit the go button. You can see there it's nowhere near as exciting because you can't see what's going on. Again, if your kegs are really grubby, just give them a swish out beforehand if you want to keep your chemicals clean. If not, just walk away, grab another beer. We're done there. We'll just lift that off. Undo our disconnects. And we're done. So let's talk comparison time. My bucket blaster from Kegland, now it fell apart because the plastics didn't like the chemicals. And I guess I gave it a super hard time, just like I've given this one a hard time. What I did like about the Kegland one was the stand, because of this metal strip here is where the pump sticks to with its suction cups. And I'll show you with the Keg King one, heaven forbid. So there's a side-by-side comparison. The Keg King one is by far heavier duty and made out of substantially more stainless steel. Now you can see there that allows that whole pump to just lift in and out of your bucket. Which I think's a far better design. The thing that let the Kegland bucket blaster down was the quality of the pump and the fittings. The duotite fittings gave up the ghost and all split and all the rest of it with just that exposure to those chemicals over time. I don't think you have to worry about that with the Keg King carboy and keg washer because it's all stainless steel. Well, except for the plastic pump housing, of course. Now, the dark horse in all this, of course, is worth double the price of the Keg King Corny cleaner, and that is the SS Brewtech. Now, how this works is it fits inside the Corny keg itself. You wind this screw down to lock it into position. You put your black ball lock disconnect on your beer line, your grey disconnect on the gas line, and into here and into here sits a rubber sleeve. There's a silicone sleeve that sits in there, and then your pump sits in there just like that. Now, that's one unit, and it's not going anywhere. And how that works is you can set yourself up with 3 buckets and just walk the keg along. So in this case it's sanitiser, but if it was cleaner you just go from bucket to bucket to bucket, and it stays fixed to the bottom of the Corny keg. Now, the SS Brewtech cost me double what the Keg King cost me, which cost me about $40 more than the Kegland version. Out of them all, I think the Keg King Corny Cleaner strikes the best balance. It's affordable, it's simple, and it's held up better than it's been expected. Now, it's not a miracle worker. The pump isn't strong enough to drive a full-on CIP setup with a big half-inch spray ball for my SS Brewtech fermenters, but honestly, that's not what it's expected at this price point. Durability and maintenance, 2 years in, it's still running strong. And so if you're threading stainless to stainless, like I said before, particularly on the arms of the T-piece, make sure you use Teflon tape. While it's been solid for me so far, and I've hammered it for nearly every week, sometimes twice a week, I'm always a little bit worried about the submersible pump that it'll give up at the worst possible moment, but that hasn't happened yet. That's just the reality when you're running equipment well past its warranty and probably well past what it was designed to do on a home brew setup. One quick extra tip while we're talking about keeping your gear clean and in good nick. I actually 3D printed a bunch of these adapters that clip into the ball lock disconnects. They keep the poppet open so that your beer and gas lines can fully drain and dry out in between uses without having to take everything fully apart. Trust me, it saves a whole lot of mucking around and helps stop anything nasty growing inside the lines. Now, I printed a bunch of these in both red and yellow PET G to match the Kegland disconnects. Now, you could just use a carbonation cap, but the problem is that they've got a poppet and a spring as well as an O-ring, and they all seem to break down with long-term exposure to the cleaning chemicals. So here's the cool part. If you're local to Homebrewers Warehouse here in Townsville, just drop in, mention this video, and you can grab a free set while they last. And now that's for the first 20 people only. And honestly, Homebrewers Warehouse is a fantastic brew shop. They've been my brew shop for years, and they'll give you good advice, even if it means missing out on a sale. So if you do stop in, show them some support, because they're the type of local business that keeps this hobby alive. Now, if you're not lucky enough to live here in God's country or North Queensland, I've left a link in the description to the STL files, and you can print them out yourself. Mine are printed in PET G using 4 outer layers and a 70% infill. Now, PET G can be a little bit tricky to print out, but you'll end up with a far more robust part. So now, I guess the tough question comes, and you're gonna ask me, Harry, do you reckon it's worth it? Look, I think if you're cleaning kegs regularly and you've got either the snub nose or the all-round fermenters or something that you can tip upside down and you don't want to be scrubbing at, I think this kit is nothing but a time saver. Look, it's not flawless, but it does exactly what it says on the tin, and I think it does it pretty well. Cleaning sucks, we all know that, but this kit, it makes it suck just that little bit less. Just keep an eye on your fermenters so they don't lift up or tip over, or you'll end up with a wet floor and a very grumpy significant other. Definitely run this outside if you can. And for heaven's sakes, if you're gonna run caustic, make sure you wear the appropriate PPE and make sure that there's no little assistant brewers running around while you're running caustic. While it's running, treat yourself to a cold one. You've earned it. Just remember to not use the beer timer if you've got a whole bunch of kegs to do. Look, I get it, but you know who probably won't be happy. Then again, it wouldn't be the first time I've been walked to bed after a cleaning session out here. And hey, if you're running either all-rounders or snub noses or any of those other PET style fermenters, be mindful of the temperature limits and the recommended contact times. I know, handing your man card now. Remember, they're pressure vessels and they're not rugged like kegs, and they scratch easily and they damage if you're rough with them or you're careless with temperature or chemicals. Look, if you've got one of these cleaners or you've made a DIY setup, let me know in the comments. I'm currently working on building my own CIP cart here in the doghouse, and if you want to see that video, subscribe and ring that little bell icon so you don't miss it. Look, if you found this video useful, smash that like button. It lets me know that I'm on the right track and really helps the channel grow. I'll catch you on the next one, and remember, life's too short for dishpan hands and dodgy beers. Cheers. Oh yeah.